Hey guys, hey gals. I'm here to share with you something my personal hobby. As many of you know, I'm into you could say hobby coding or amateur programming. And why? Why am I into this so much? Why does it give me so much satisfaction? Uh, I don't know. You solve interesting problems and produced something that does something interesting or useful. Is that intrinsic? I don't know. Is there any such thing as intrinsic satisfaction? I don't know. I'm not entirely convinced. I think there's an agenda for why anybody does anything. If it's something like knitting, then you have the result of your knitting these beautiful sweaters and stuff, and you have the satisfaction of pride when you've created something beautiful that you can share with somebody else or give to somebody else. In this case, well, I guess the most obvious reason is that it has to do with career. I mean, anything that you do with programming is going to have a transferable skill. Like, it doesn't even really matter. Well, at least in my case, it doesn't even really matter what language, because almost once you know one computer language, you know them all. Really, in a way. Programming is similar across many different languages, and the skills that you pick up doing one thing, you can almost always use it doing something else. In my case, these days I'm using Lua. It's a programming language called Lua, and I'll let you look that up. But yeah, long before I was even interested in a career in software engineering, I had some interest in just hobby programming, but I used this is like late 80s, like I think it was published actually 1987 at first. This book. This book presents some computer exercises, or some explorations, you might say. They're like a lot of English descriptions of algorithms. Well, a lot of these algorithms are just very common programming exercises. They're like puzzles. This book is very wordy. I mean, it's got some complexity and depth, and sometimes you want that. Sometimes you want something to sink your teeth into and really ponder. It's got stuff in there about fractals. The word fractal means fractionally dimensional. And one of the examples it gives in the book has to do with it's called the Mandelbrot set. And that has to do with the combination of imaginary numbers with real numbers, and you can use this mathematical notion to make some beautiful designs. So it was an 80s thing, fractals. Anyway, another thing you would find in this book is the Towers of Hanoi. This is not an illustration from the book, by the way. It's just, like I say, it's a common programming exercise. But the goal is you get these disks from post A to post C, while one at a time, one disk at a time, and you must always have a small disk on top of a larger disk. You must never have the larger disk on top of the small disk. That's a rule, okay? So while following that rule, can you get all these disks over to post C? So those are two of many examples and exercises and explorations you can find in that book. So another source of exercises and puzzles for programming hobby you could possibly find in online. It's under Stack Exchange. There's this thing called Programming Puzzles and Code Golf, and people appear to be continuously bringing up these ideas and puzzles, and then people solve them, and you could participate in that. There's so many sources of interesting puzzles out there. Excuse me. Well, another idea would be possibly programming robots. And if I were going to get into that, I would want to find a robot that I could program with some regular Turing complete computer language. That is to say, well, you can look that up, but if you don't already. But so when I look for hobbyist robots, I see these things that cost. Most of this stuff costs a lot of money, and the stuff that are really inexpensive would not really fill my needs, I don't think. Because if I find a hobbyist robot, and I see something that's like $20, $30 or whatever, that doesn't count. Then I come up with something like this. But if you start to look at the description more carefully, you see it's not really what I'm looking for. It's not a robot in the sense I can't program it with some language, Also in this case, it looks like it's not very well reviewed right now. So I'm just telling you, with robots, there's money involved, and I want to do this in an inexpensive way. To do this as a hobby. All right. So, but if you did go with real life robotics, and as I was researching, I happened across this YouTuber, Simon Gertz. I don't think I'm pronouncing her last name correctly. She has a couple of channels. One of them is kid friendly, and that one is it's aimed toward girls, but really I would think anybody would be interested. But she has her own. She has a kind of a regular channel, just Simon Gertz. And the only thing about this is that some of you might be sensitive about the four-letter words. She likes to use lots of the four-letter words. I don't mind, I don't, and also I like her message actually, and I admire what she's doing. She's funny, and she says she's a non-engineer, but she seems to be doing some engineering, and I think she's doing some programming in there too. But anyway, what else? So yeah, something Gertz. Look her up, maybe. Okay, but in any case, I'm looking for sources of puzzles, things to do, fun things to do that might have something to do with programming, right? Well, then I come to you with the idea of using Minecraft as kind of a source of things to do having to do with robots. And well, it's being used as for actual serious research on you'll see these articles where people are using it to improve their robotics. But I'm not doing anything that serious, but in Minecraft, you're presented with some kind of like quote unquote natural problems. That is, the problems kind of emerge. Not difficult problems, but problems nonetheless, and problems that would be perfect for robots to solve. And so, and also, you buy the license for Minecraft once for like just under $30, and then there's all these free mods out there. These for one example, there's a set of mods that it's called Open Computers. This one is great because it's open source. And why does that make it great? Well, that means that as long as anyone has any interest in maintaining open computers, then there should always be an Open Computers mod out there even as Minecraft continues to evolve. Open Computers will evolve along with it and keep up with it because you can. Within Open Computers, they have this thing. It's aptly named. And this does not really show how cool it is. Maybe if you just look it up, you'll see these more interesting images of this robot. It hovers. It's neat. Well, the only thing I don't like about this robot is that it takes a lot of doing to build this robot. You have to. It's expensive in the sense that it doesn't cost any money, but it's expensive in the sense that you have to gather all these resources, and you have to build these parts, and you have to make subcomponents out of these parts, and then you have to assemble these subcomponents into larger assemblies, and eventually, if you haven't gotten sick of it, you'll have a robot. So this brings me to another kind of robot within the Minecraft modding world. This other kind of robot is called the turtle. The turtle comes inside this mod called ComputerCraft. ComputerCraft is it's a mod set was maintained by this fellow named Dan200. The thing is, it's not really open source. At least as far as I know, it's still not open source, and that means it's very much dependent on what Dan200 decides to do. I think he actually managed to find a way to make money. Correct me if I'm wrong, anybody. But he found a way to make money in creating this mod, and this source of revenue for him, I think, dried up, and I think that he stopped maintaining this mod. Maybe he's still, but he's maintaining it much slower, I think, because the money's not there for him. If you want to be a sponsor and go to Dan200 and like pay him to update this mod to be up to date with the newer versions of Minecraft, then he'd be willing. Of course, he'd be willing, but that's the problem with proprietary stuff. You're dependent on you might have it, you might download it, but if it's proprietary and you don't have the source code, you're helpless as far as like keeping it up to date. So, but the great thing about this one is that it's trivial to make the turtle within Minecraft. You just you can put it together very quickly, and boom, you can just start programming it. And I'm not interested in building robots, really. I just want to program them. So this is great for me. Shout out to Dan200. Thank you very much for providing that. So, and then I I show you the Minecraft page because just to show you, like, less than $30 and you're in. So, and then I bring you to this Technicraft page, or TechnicPack. It's another free thing, but what TechnicPack does for you is it allows you to easily have these mods. Mods can be kind of difficult to install on their own, but when you're using TechnicPack, it's very simple. Comparatively, so. I would encourage you to use this. It's a free resource. Once you download the launcher, it looks like this. Well, it looks like that, and then you can search for Modpacks. These combinations of mods, and one that I created. It's called 842 from summer 2016. That's that's my own little tiny server. You're welcome to join, but please be warned. It's, like I say, tiny. It can only hold 5 people. It might be laggy in the sense that it may not work all that. It may not be great. Okay, but again, you're welcome to come and join it, but please don't be expecting too much out of it. One that is much better, it's bigger, it's more official. This guy is more like he's real dedicated maintainer of his server. The guy who runs this, what's his name? His in-game name is BTC. But these servers, the reason I'm showing you these is that they have open computers and they have computer craft. So it's a place for you to go and experiment with programming and robotics. And I want to show you what I mean by problems presenting themselves to you. I'm gonna go into my 842 one. I'll go in as if. So once I'm in, you'll see kind of a cave. Yeah. Well, I had used a robot to dig this long shaft, and I wrote a program to place these ladders and torches, which would be a tedious and very dangerous activity for a human, but it's like a perfect thing to do for a robot. That's what I mean. It's a perfect little problem that presents itself that's perfect for robots. Mining resources. Yes, you can mine them yourself, but it's also a great thing for a robot to do. A robot can be very thorough, and a robot can be doing this mining activity while you're doing something else. Well, you need to stay nearby, but still you can be continuing to explore other things while your robot is doing. It could save you some time. Redstone. This is called redstone. It presents a special problem, which I will talk about in a later video. And it's, notice how I strike the thing and it shows these little sparks. Another problem that presents itself, these pools of lava. Yes, you can deal with them manually. You can turn them into this, you pour water on them and it becomes obsidian, and it's difficult, but you can mine the obsidian and use the obsidian for very useful things, but very dangerous. And if you have like lots of pools around, and if you have very large pools, then it's not just dangerous, but it can be kind of like tedious after some time. So anything with danger or with tedium or is perfect for a robot. You can also like make these perfectly rectangular rooms. Great thing for a robot to do. And so that's what I mean. This, when when you have a hobby, you need some specific hook for your hobby. Like if your hobby is, if you enjoy weightlifting, you need specific exercises for your weightlifting. You need if you're knitting, you need like a pattern or a goal for your knitting project. So that's like one of the, for me, it's been like the main difficulty of this hobby is like what to do, what is interesting, what is it that I can think of doing that would give me something interesting and to do that would provide some satisfaction. Anyway, so thank you for joining me and letting me share with you about my hobby. Especially if you've ever had an inkling of considering software engineering, programming, software development as a career, then having programming as a hobby, I think, is really something to look at. So I'll make more videos about this, I think, just because I feel like it. Like if you like, and I will talk to you later.